It's Chelsea.
It's Nina.
And you're in the Critics' Kingdom.
Zeus Lapidus, Chelsea. What are we reviewing today?
DCOM major, guys. We're reviewing Zenon, Girl of the 21st Century. And if you guys don't remember the amazing slang,
just go watch it. Like, don't even...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go watch and then report back to us.
Exactly. Like, you have to know this one. It is classic beyond classic.
Literally came out in 99. It was like part of that initial vanguard of DCOMs. And cemented its status as one of the best ones.
Possibly one of... Like, if you had asked 10-year-old Nina some of the best films to ever be made, Zenon, Girl of the 21st Century would be like number 7.
It's so good. It is it's like so good. Both of us just had like such great feelings attached to it, and then we rewatched it and loved every minute.
Yeah, even more. Which is, it wasn't just nostalgia. It still holds up. Which is really nice.
Holds up very, very well.
They're wrong about everything that the 21st century would bring.
To be fair, though,
to a certain degree,
they're like 20 years. It's like, so this one's supposed to be set in 2049. So it's like, almost 30 years from now, but still.
Yeah, but we're not like Space Day.
We're not there yet. We're not there yet.
We're not even close. I know we like to think we are, but
yeah, we're not.
But
I appreciate the idealism.
So, I mean, should we get into this recap extreme?
Yeah.
All right, so we start off, and it's the morning, and Zenon is late to class. And it's fun because we get to sort of watch her run to class, and we get to see the space station. They do a really good job of giving us just, like, this idea of what it's like to live in space by watching Zenon, like, be a hot mess.
Yes.
But she gets to class, and in class we learn, fun fact, Chelsea Clinton is president.
Yes.
So that's a little...
Just a fun little tidbit.
That's where we thought we were going. Like, remember how we should have gotten a female Clinton president and then didn't?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just saying. So, she goes to class. They find out that, Microbe, her, like, favorite band, like, band major, is coming. Protozoa is the star of that band, and they're doing this contest where the person who submits, like, the best piece of, like, fan paraphernalia will get to dance with Protozoa on stage, who's the lead singer of the band.
Mm-hmm.
And Zenon's like freaking out now, and like that's all she's thinking about. At the same time, they learn that Wyndham, who is the sort of private equity responsible for the space station, is coming up to the space station to do like essentially like a check-in, but because it's a check-in, it also means that there is always a potential that he could shut it down. So he's coming up to sort of evaluate and assess. So before this happens later that night, Zenon convinces her crew. This is important. Zenon is the gang leader, okay? Yeah. Zenon runs the whole space station, to be quite honest.
She's a cult of personality.
Entirely.
She's literally a 13-year-old cult of personality.
It's incredible. And so well acted. Like, Kirsten Storm just does it.
Just shout out to you, Kirsten.
Just well done. But so she convinces her friends, Nebula is her best friend, played by, the wonderful Raven-Symoné, and
yes.
Nebula is clearly a bit more straight-laced than Zenon, but Zenon's her best friend, so clearly is down for some sort of antics. And then one of the other friends, Leo, his daddy has all the codes to everything in the space station, so they constantly make this boy steal his father's code pad and use it to do, child things that they're not, and get into places where they're not supposed to get into. So they use it to sneak out to watch a solar flare. Like, Zenon convinces them to do that. She decides to go out in her astronaut suit to actually go out to the solar flare, which is obviously not okay. There are no adults around because it's the middle of the night. They get caught, and Zenon gets in trouble. That's just the important thing. So she's on thin ice. That's sort of how we start this off. Wyndham comes up to the space station. He comes up with his crony Lux, and Zenon meets him sort of right away, but kind of immediately she's like, Wyndham is inky. Like, he's gross. He twitches, his eye twitches whenever he lies. Like, I can tell that he's kind of full of shit, and we should all be wary. But people aren't really trying to listen to a 13-year-old, so, her qualms are met with very little response. She ends up, she has this thing that she does where she goes diving for, like, cool stuff in the recycling bin, and that's how she finds, like, all her clothes and, like, all this other stuff. accessories, and she's looking for stuff to make the protozoa model that she's going to send in for the contest. And while she's doing that, she sees like Wyndham's crony trying to get into the memory bank, and she essentially foils him from doing that. But so now she's like really, really extra suspicious, and she starts essentially just tailing him. Now, in all of this, we also find out that Zenon ends up being the contest winner for the protozoa dance on stage situation. So she's going to get to do that because of her little model that she made that is actually still as dope as I remember it being. So that was fun.
Looks just like him.
It really does. It's actually quite exceptional. She does a really good job. But so she's still tailing Lux, and then like later that night, she sees Lux like insert a disk into the memory bank computer, but she gets Leo to give her the code so that she can hide in the memory bank proper. And she sees him do it and is like, okay, great, like now I've seen him do it. She gets up to follow him. The code has washed off her hand, so now she has to like try to get the code in. Obviously it doesn't work. Alarms go off. Everyone catches her in the memory bank, which is level 4. It's like all of the space stations programs and like life-sustaining functions are running through there, so everybody's really, really, really upset with her. And because she was on thin ice already, her parents are like, you're grounded. And she's like, okay, I know I messed up. And they're like, no, you don't understand. We're doing what immigrant parents do with their first-generation kids when they start acting up, and we are sending you back home. You getting on this plane, and you're going to Earth. And she's like, please, for the love of God, don't send me there. I've only heard horror stories. They're all diseased down there, which is now not true. But they're like, no, you gotta go. And she's really sort of upset about it, but what you gonna do when you're 13? You kind of gotta just do what people say, because even the commander of the space station is like, yeah, she has to leave. Because apparently, the precociousness of a 13-year-old child is capable of, like, bringing down this whole station. Like, somehow, like, a investor can choose not to do that because of that. It doesn't track for me, but alas. So Nebula makes her this earring from this like thing that she found on the floor, which we know is actually the disc that Lux inserted into the memory bank, but he dropped it on his way out when he was trying to like put it in his pocket. And so Xenon's like wearing that disc when she takes the shuttle back. She ends up taking the shuttle with Wyndham and Lux because they're leaving the space station as well. And when she gets to Earth, before she goes to meet her aunt who lives on Earth and who she's going to stay with, who's coming to pick her up, she is sort of saying goodbye to Wyndham and Lux, but essentially letting them know that, like, I know that you're scum, and I'm going to figure out how to defeat you, because precocious 13-year-old child. And she pulls her hair back, and Lux sees that she's wearing the disc around her, like, in her ear. And he's like, crap. So, Zenon is, she goes with her aunt, like, takes her out to eat. There we meet who's going to end up being, like, her Earth friends and one rival. Not real rival. Zenon ain't got time.
Frenemy.
Yeah. Not yet. Zenon has no time for this girl, Margie, but Margie is peak, because Margie really loves Greg, and Greg ain't got no time for her, and then Zenon done blew in like the stellar supernova that she is, and now, Greg is blinded by all that light, and that's all he wants. So, we see her at school, and she's struggling. She's just struggling to be on Earth. Earth is a bit of a thing. Greg tries to help her at first, because, again, smitten. But she's not really having it. Eventually, and, in all fairness, the girl is stressed, because she's like, something's going to happen to my family. Like, I don't know, and I can't do anything to stop it. So he ends up they go out, and they, like, he works with horses, and he takes her to see horses and stuff. And she's like, oh, Earth isn't so horrible. But sort of through all of that, like, she, like, they bond, and it's really cute. And then her house gets robbed. And Aunt Judy
her aunt's, yeah.
Yeah, well, her aunt's house.
Yeah.
Aunt Judy's house gets robbed, but that's where she's staying at. And
ransacked.
Both of them, actually ransacked.
It looks ransacked.
And it looks like they're looking for something.
Right.
And Zenon is like, I know it was Wyndham and Lutz. And her aunt is kind of like, you sure? And she's like, yeah, I'm sure. And Aunt Judy, she kind of rides, possibly because she's a little bit unstable, but she rides. So she's like, I believe you, mostly. And Zenon, like, sort of figures out that they were looking for the disc. She was like, they looked really wild when they saw this earring. So she puts in the earring. She brings like one of Greg's other friends. I forget his name.
I forgot his name.
Andrew like is mad good with computers. So they like try the disk out on Andrew's computer. At first nothing happens, and they realize that's a virus that like completely destroys the computer. And Andrew manages to figure out how to make an antivirus for it, but the problem is like you have to insert that antivirus into the computer. And Xenon's kind of like, why hasn't the space station come crashing down already if this virus does that? And he's like, you guys have, your computer system is so much more advanced than this little itty bitty baby laptop. I'm sure it's taking time, but it is going to come crashing down too soon. Like slowly things are just going to start to fail until it's like complete kaputs. Got to get this virus in, this antivirus in before that. So they figure out that like that's what they've got to do. So she gets in contact. She technically isn't allowed to contact anybody, but she gets in contact with her homegirl Nebula and is like, Nebula, you gotta let me know when the next shuttle is because I gotta get up there. Nebula and Leo sneak away somewhere with his codes, find out when the next shuttle is, but get trapped, and that shuttle is leaving that night. So when they finally get back and they're able to tell Zenon the shuttle is leaving in like 30 minutes, her and her little Earth friends got to steal Andrew's daddy's car and drive it in the middle of the night.
They're 13. Keep 13. This in mind.
It has autopilot, but it's still a problem. And they drive down to the, I guess launch pad.
Yeah.
But the shuttle is literally, it's just flown off. It's just taken off, and obviously it's not going to stop. And so she's like terrified now. She's really sad. She's really upset. Greg's trying to comfort her. And even Margie tries to not be cruel in the moment. And she's like, oh, God, and can you believe like it's going to come crashing down while Protozoa's on there? And Xenon's like, oh, my goodness, Margie, you suck. But that's actually a great idea. Like, Protozoa has to be going up there. So I could just hop a ride with Protozoa. So the next day, she has to show up she has to sort of, sneak her way into the Wyndham's headquarters. Not really sneak in. They drive that car again and break through the gate. They get into because there's a big press conference. It's the first rock band ever in space. So, she gets there. She sneaks backstage, runs into Prozo, is like, listen, I'm your content swindler. You have to take me up with you. And he's like, great, fantastic. Because he's also just Australian and don't give a fuck. He's like, yeah, let's live this life. Wyndham is like, Lux, where is that little menace? Like, why can't you find her? Why is she still a problem? Etc., etc. She ends up and her Aunt Judy, she left a note being like, Aunt Judy, I'm going to go save my family. And Aunt Judy's like, I'm responsible for you. This can't happen. So she's on her tail. Essentially, they all end up on this shuttle going up to the space station. And now, like, Wyndham and Lutz are, like, tight because they're not supposed to be there because it's going to come crashing down. It's also important fun to note, this is, again, another situation where it is about tax money. Like, he's really just trying to get an insurance, or not tax money, but he's trying to defraud an insurance company. Mm-hmm. That's why he's doing this. But, so they get up there. Essentially, Zenon, after just some haggling through it, like, just manages to actually convince everybody on the station, like, no, like, look at everything that's happening. I'm not the one who's acting up. Like, I'm the only one who can save you. Please let me save you. They let her go in and, like, try it out. At first, she doesn't remember the code exactly, but she eventually does and gets the antivirus in, literally at the exact, like, last millisecond, and saves the day. Lights go off, but then they come back on. Very full court miracle-ish. And Zenon is the great hero. We get our rock concert in space.
We hear Zoom, 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 guys.
One of the best songs ever written. I'm saying that on this.
It's true. No, Disney did that on this one.
They did the fuck out of that.
Yeah.
And, she is supposed to dance on stage with him, but she actually tells him to give it to her best friend, Nebula, because Nebula, like, she is actually, like, she's not the Robin, she's the Nightwing in this. You know what I mean? Like, it's Nightwing. Like, you wouldn't have been able to do what you had to do without her. And, then we have our little concert, and it's all cute. And that is Zenon, Girl of the 21st Century.
And we'll be right back after this break minor. Thank you, Nina, for that lunarious recap of Zenon. I mean, I think we said earlier on in this one that we really enjoyed rewatching it, and I think one of the most fun parts was the fashion
and
the language. Like, the slang is so well done.
Yeah, they just really. I think it's one of those. So first of all, on the fashion, I would just like to point out that I think that this is another one. Chelsea, like I know how you always say like the HD-ness of digital filming now, like that deep high definition, makes things look so fake when they're fake. And this is one of those movies I think where you really benefit from not having that, from it being on film. Like you can see, or at least mostly on film.
Yeah.
Like you can,
but definitely not HD.
Yeah. So if it's in the in between, it's not HD at all.
It's not HD.
You know, like I can imagine if this were shot today, those costumes would look so cheap.
They would.
But in this, they just feel like they look right. They seem like exactly they fit with the world, and I think it's that flatness that allows for that to happen. But yes, the fashion was amazing, the slang was amazing, and I really think that it is a situation of Disney just commit, like, or whoever was doing this specifically, they just really committed. And even I said it earlier, but like Kirsten Storms and Raven Simone, all of the kids, like, they speak it so organically.
Yeah.
It genuinely feels like real like if teenagers were living in space, like, yeah, that's how they dress. And like, yeah, it would be different from how they're dressing on Earth. And those kids living in small town Earth are gonna be, or not small town, but you know, coastal town, smaller town, because Aunt Judy makes a whole thing about how they're not New York or LA.
Yeah, I think they're supposed to be somewhere in Washington State.
Maybe.
I think they mentioned Seattle somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's, you know, it's supposed to be like a smaller
not LA or New
city.
York.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be that like huge metropolis. And like the fact that Margie is like, what is she wearing? She looks crazy, but up in space, like she's the one. She makes fashion up in space, it seems, because she goes and finds all the recycled clothes and like does all that stuff. So
it's literally a culture clash.
Yeah, and the commitment that they do. Yeah, they do the space culture that they've created. They do it so well.
Yeah, and I think we were saying earlier, is that actually it's adapted from a book called Zenon, Girl of the 21st Century, and I kind of really want to read the book now.
Yeah, me
just
too,
to see what it was like.
I want to know.
But yeah, no, it's like the commitment to the slang actually making a lot of sense, even though for most people, unless you read the book, I feel like you wouldn't know it. You know, like for most people, this was their first entrance to it. It's similar to the Cheetah Girls, where I feel like the Cheetah Girls worked in a specific way because they had slang in the books and they did that in the first movie and they did it very well.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a similar type of thing, but yeah, the writers really committed and so did the actors, and it's just so well done.
Yeah, it shows. They put in the work and it shows. That's what it feels like watching it now from this lens.
Because it's like they weren't trying to make fetch happen, you know? Like
they
weren't. Like it's like it just worked, which is the ideal situation in these things, where it's just like it just works.
It was very colloquial. It sounded very natural, like it came off the tongue.
Yeah, and it's also just such fun science references.
Yeah, and it's like, of course, like that's what would happen if we're at the place where we're doing space travel. Like science would be that sort of. You would hope it'd be that sort of prevalent in the general populace. That like, yeah, people are when something's mad cool. It's not cool anymore. Like it's got nothing to do with it being cool. Like it's stellar.
Or lunarious.
Yeah,
or like
obviously
like antimatter. Like it's just like
it's antimatter if it's whack. When Greg's explaining it and he's like macro's good, micro's bad,
viral is bad,
graphic is beautiful.
Right. Like it's just like
or viral is like gross or something.
Yeah,
like
viral
that.
Is gross.
And like graphic is beautiful.
Right.
It's all like they just do it.
All the science and tech terms. It's like they intermingle so well.
They really do. And I think speaking of that, generally speaking, one of our big things with this, I know, or our big thing was that, you know, sort of the subversion of the classic sort of female tropes that you get, even the classic female strong tropes that you get. But what I particularly love about this is, you know, and I think it probably did have a lot of influence on me more than I realized until now watching it as a kid, like girls in space.
Yeah. Girls in space,
like being good at what they do, like knowing space, like all about like understand science. This is not a situation where she doesn't like math or anything like that. Understands science, understands math, trusts her instinct, and still rocks the hell out of a scrunchie like no one I have ever seen. It's just it just made me deeply happy.
Yeah,
like there's really no other way.
Because I think it's just like a great way to show that it's like people can be all things. Yeah. Like it's like you can be often, super smart, you can be super into science, you can be super into math, you can be super into tech, because or computers, because all of them are fully into all of that in the space station, because you just kind of have to, because you're growing up around it, and / all their parents are scientists. Yeah. Or in the hardware field, which again, so it's like everybody has that background, but then on top of that, it's like they also are like, for the girls that we see, they're all very fashionable. Like they're like, we go in, freaking dumpster diving to find outfits.
And on that, also shout out to Nebula's pigtails.
Yeah, no,
because she also does that.
Yeah,
this whole film.
That was a look I think I wanted with the slinkies.
Yeah, I really did.
Or they look like slinkies.
The coils, little metal coils that she has. It's just really well. And I think in particular, like, I'm a girl who grew up like loving science and loving space, like in particular loving space. Like, I was 13 and I wanted to watch the universe more than I wanted to watch anything else. Like that was just the type of kid I was. And just that representation is so important. Because it is a field that women have historically, and up until very, very recently, like even when this came out, it still wasn't common for the girl to be the hero in a space story. Mm-hmm. You're watching Lovecraft Country now, and that's still part of it. Like, it's not common for the women to be the heroes in the space story, and it's kind of, like, women like space travel as much as everybody else too.
Right.
And and they don't all have to be Princess Leia's to be like real people in that realm.
Yeah.
And like thinking about atoms and quantum mechanics and general relativity and literally, M theory, like we enjoy all of those things too, and looking at pulsars that are happening, billions of years ago. Like all of that stuff is cool for everybody.
Yeah.
And it can be an interest of everyone, and just this pigeonholing that we do of girls into humanities is unnecessary and probably stifles us as like as a society on the whole, because those are great minds going to waste.
It does.
So, it's just nice. It's just really, really nice to have a film like this.
Yeah, and I think there used to be a stat. I don't know if it's still true, but I remember when I was growing up, there was a stat that it was like most girls lose interest in science and math at like I think 4th grade, so like 9.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I forgot what the reasoning behind.
Well, it was because they're not encouraged in it. That was the whole idea. It's that like most girls, they're essentially pushed into, from an early age, it's sort of pushed into, but girls do English, and girls
write,
and they write, and like you journal, you have a diary, like those are the like academic.
Yeah.
And even history ends up being quite masculine.
It does.
Like it's like the writing and the English, like that's what the girls do. Those are the places that the girls excel. And art, obviously, like those, and theater, like that's what the girls do. And the guys want to build things, and the guys are the ones who can do numbers. Girls can't do numbers. So girls who have
quote unquote hard subjects.
Exactly. So girls who have those interests, unless they're very, very strong in character, not strong in character, sorry, but like unless they're very sort of self-assured and they know what they want, that not getting any encouragement into those realms that they might show interest in or some level of prowess in early makes them just, sort of put it to the side. And then putting it to the side, like, yes, they might lose interest, or even if they never lose interest, then they don't get to develop the same level of fundamental skill that the boys do, because it's drilled into them they have to be good at this. And so you end up with a huge disparity of, like, girls not being in science, so in girls STEM, not liking STEM. And it's like, well, that's not actually true. It's just that the ones who did like STEM, you called them nerds, and you told them that they didn't fit in, and you told them that like they could never fit in if they liked it. So they chose one form of survival over another.
Yeah, which also should be STEAM, because art should be included. I think that's like actually the new thing now, is they're like, we need to make it STEAM, not STEM, because like art. Art is also has like science and math in it. So anyways, but yes, like, so I do think that's an important thing that they do, that they hit on in this one. And also one of the things I do like actually about their parents is that, everybody on this space station is what seems like to be pretty much like a nuclear family, like two parents and the kid, multiple kids or whatever. But it's also like normally the mom and the dad are both physicists or both like astronomers or both scientists. Like it's like there's no stay at home anybody in this one.
Well, yeah, because
everybody's working.
Yeah,
but
like
I think
the
it's
idea
just
is that
important to see, which is probably another reason why I think like all of the girls in this film are so strong, because it's like they've never seen a world where they wouldn't be, because it's like their mom is doing the same thing their dad is doing, and so is their friend's mom, and so is their friend's older sister. Like it's like if everybody is doing the same things, you don't think to like question it.
And I think that there's something about that's a very, the idea of like this is a view of the future. You're telling a story that takes place in the future, and this is what you think Chelsea Clinton could become president. You think, you know what I mean?
Right? Like, yeah. There's a woman that's
president. That's a reference that that me at 6 could get, and I probably did catch that when I was 6. And it's like, oh yeah, like that'll probably that
could happen. Yeah.
And in the future, now the sad truth is that like there's still 30 years away, but the truth is that we're not there yet. No. We're still not there yet, and I think maybe it's the Zenon challenge. Like that's the challenge for us,
2049
for us to get there. For society to get to a place where people really are viewed, valued, and sort of judged on the basis of them as full people.
Yeah.
Whatever that entails.
Right.
Without pigeonholing anyone into anything because of something especially because of something that is literally not a choice. Like, yeah, because of
sex
how
is
you're
not
born.
A choice. Gender's a fucking construct. So like,
yeah, like it's like because of how you're born. Like you're wired to be this. I can be wired to like have breasts, or like have booby breasts with milk and stuff, because men have breasts too.
Yeah,
and really, really be into quantum mechanics. Like both of those things can coexist, and they often do.
And for a lot of people. And I think even something else that we noticed in this film was also the fact that Zenon is so self-assured, but I'd also say all of her friends all the girlfriends are all self-assured. They're all super confident, and I do think that again comes out of a place where there is no like overarching like societal belief other than we all gotta work to live.
Yeah.
So
so we just gotta, and none of the boys are like confused by it.
Right.
There's no sense of like,
it's just like we all go to school, we all learn the same things. Everybody is an equal.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, like race doesn't really even come up in this, even though, as we know, Nebula is played by the lovely Raven-Symoné and she's black, but it's like it's very much black and Leo's black. Yeah, it's like, but it's very much just like everybody's kind of on equal ground, which is like a very doesn't exist here on Earth, which is probably another reason they don't want to come down here. Because could you imagine if you lived your entire life without any overarching real, or not real, but an overarching like strict patriarchal structure? Because I do think you still have humans, so you still have Americans, so it's still gonna exist, but like not to the level that it does on Earth. And then you suddenly have to come down to Earth. Yo, I'd be pissed. I would feel exactly how Zenon did, where she was just like, "What is this, honey?
Like, why do you do this? This don't make no sense.
Like, why are you out here boxing yourself in?"
Yeah,
because that's what I'd be thinking.
So it's definitely great for all of those reasons, I think. And I do think like that intense sense of self is something that, or what intense sense of self that's coupled with a precocious, because the girl is precocious. Like she's kind of, Zenon is like, she's like a ball of fire. We discussed that she's definitely a Leo.
Yeah.
She's 110%
It becomes even
Leo.
more clear in the later sequels, but yes.
Like Zenon's a Leo. But, she's like a little ball of fire. And I think I was once watching, I think it was an interview with Tracy Ellis Ross. Actually, on like Fallon or something like that.
Queen.
And, most definitely. But she was talking about how, like, when she was talking about when she was little, how she was kind of like a raging ball of fire. And To the other queen, Queen Mama, the Queen Mother, Miss Diana, she was told by someone in regards to Tracy, like, listen, Tracy's a little ball of fire. Your job is not to extinguish that. Your job is to just help direct it to where it will be of use, right, or where it can be productive instead of, raging and sort of going out of control. And Zenon definitely falls under that category, I would say. But what I sort of love about her character is that like precociousness, that adventurous spirit, all of those sort of qualities, that assuredness, the Leo, just the pure her and her lion's mane on fire. It's coupled with this, what is also like an inherent good nature, it seems, and I kind of love like watching her. I think you get the sense that she is directing that raging ball of fire that is her, but like on her own. Like she knows where, like she, you know what I mean? She's not just running around causing trouble to cause trouble. Right. She's like, something's going wrong, and you guys have to know that. And you might not know that you need to listen to me, but I know you need to listen to me, so I'm not gonna stop. And I'm gonna rage where I gotta rage to make sure that I can, you know what I mean? It's like burning down the forest to grow new, like, fresh growth, right? That's like what she does, but she does it herself. And I just like the idea of a character with that type of it's not fortitude, but just, with that personality trait, with that type of strength. Yeah. Because it's literally not, and she's not someone who ever wants to do harm. And she tries very hard not to do harm. Right. Even with all of that. She's just curious. Like, she's literally like, when people are like, kids are curious, she is like one of those kids that's just like, I need to physically touch and feel everything. She's very tactile. Like, she's just like, if you tell me not to do something, I'm going to do it, but not because I want to disobey you, more because I want to know why. Like, yeah. And even, like, we see it with her. I also love, like, you even see it in the way that, like, her handling Greg. Just that whole, like, because she, Greg's her mini romance. Yeah, her little romance in it. And it's really on her terms. Like, she is directing that whole situation. Like, when her and Greg do their, like, attempt at kissing, which is, I love that that's in here, too, that they try to kiss and they fail. Because, like, it's kids and it's a thing. Yeah. It's like the Love and Basketball 5-second kiss. It's like, that's so cute. Like, that's the thing that happens. Like, she's like Greg, like she's the one who tells him to do it and is like, read the room. Like, read the room. Like, she's very good at sort of directing all of that, but she says this thing in it, and I kind of really like the way she phrases it, because it does have the potential to be problematic, but like I said, I think the way she phrases it makes it not. And she's like, why be in the audience when you have the chance to be center stage? And I think it's specifically the way that she says, and of course this is the writers, so the way that the writers like say, when you have the chance to be center stage. She didn't like go out and like claw her way to center stage. You know what I mean? She's not saying like, go out there and make yourself the center of attention at all time. Mm-hmm. She understands that enough at 13. And listen to me, I didn't understand that enough at 13. Most people don't understand that at 13, right? But that's something that this character has a grasp on. It's like, this is an opportunity. And like, in that opportunity, like, yeah, do everything that you can in that, but you don't have to like do harm to get there. Is embedded in that, and I really like that. And then even when she does get the chance to be center stage, because she's been center stage, or she's center stage in a different way, she recognizes that that's a moment where she can pass a torch and allow someone else to do that. So like, she's just like, she's a character I still ride with. Yeah, and I think another part that we noted in this one is that majority of the relationship focus in this one is really on hers and Nebula's friendship, which was really nice. Because like, Nebula is clearly like her ride or die, because like Nina said, Nebula is over here just like, listen, I'm not trying to be out here doing all this crazy stuff, but my best friend loves to just look into everything. So I can't let her do it by herself. So I guess I'm just gonna have to like swallow my fear and just go for it. But Nebula's also like the person that, ends up helping out a lot with getting her back and, just helping out in other ways. And believes her first, which she never questions her. Yeah, which is, And it's not in a problematic way. It's just that she's like a true friend that way. She's like, you know what, like, I know you're not a liar, or you're not gonna lie to me about something like this.
Right.
So I trust you. There's genuine trust between the two of them.
Yeah. No, that's her girl.
Yeah, she knows that Nebula's the one she's got to call. She's like, when she's like tracked in like Commander Plank's office at the end when they have her detained. She literally is like, Andrew, call Nebula.
Yes.
Tell Nebula to come get me. And then when she's trying to get out, she's like, where Nebula? Like, I don't know what's going on, but we gotta get out. Nebula just pop her little head through that ceiling and is like, girl, I'm here. I got you.
Nebula is always there and ready. Also, just shout out to the names.
Right?
Zenon's just a great name. Nebula is a great name.
They are just great all across the board.
You know, like, it's just like, I need more spacey names like this.
I really do.
They're
and
so fun.
And at the same time, like, I do understand though, like, watching this, first of all, every mother should have a stress helmet. I really am upset that they have not invented that yet.
But again, her parents never tried to stifle her. It was really just a situation of just like, why is she like this?
It's like, you can't,
but we know we can't control her
right now.
Like, they clearly have read all their little child psychology books, and they know that they can't like diminish it. They're just like, but we don't know how to handle it. Those poor things. Her poor mom was stressed this entire time. And keep in mind, both of her parents are scientists. They've dealt with a lot. Like, they've dealt with a lot.
They live in space. They had to make the decision to come live in space.
Right, and they're probably at the top of their field again because they're living in space for the first time in history, and their daughter has clearly grown up here for 13 years.
8.
So
she moves up there when she's 5.
Oh, okay, yes.
She only remembers, like, that's why when the rain falls. Remember?
Oh yeah, she does.
She's like, oh my god, I remember this.
Yeah.
It's actually a very cute scene.
Yeah, so their daughter's lived up there for quite a few years, so like they know what they're doing. They've been stressed. They live in space where they can be in danger of falling every day.
Literally every day.
So every minute. So I
mean, and her mother only puts on the stress helmet
for Zenon.
To Zenon.
The stress helmet was getting a workout.
It really was. That poor, but you know, we need to invent those because mothers need, especially COVID. Like, all parents need them, but moms need those. They really do.
And speaking of women in this one, Aunt Judy,
our
poor nervous, can't fly, too afraid to fly.
Don't she always seem a little touched?
Yes. She needs therapy. Honestly, Aunt Judy's had therapy. My other issue is Aunt Judy has a gorgeous house, and we never find out what that woman does.
Yeah.
What does she do?
Is it all the money from the like they can't spend it nowhere, so I guess it just goes down.
Is that it? That could be it.
To the
it could literally be that because they never
relative.
also say if it's her mom's sister or her dad's sister.
It's her mom's sister.
Is it her mom? Okay,
yeah.
So it's just like, is it like she's like, listen, we gotta like Judy's gotta have some place to live. Just give her all the monies.
But Judy in the end, it seems like love is gonna cure Aunt Judy. Not cure. She don't need to be cured because she is. She's actually. She's very good with Zenon, and as a child, I appreciate Aunt Judy very deeply.
Yeah.
As an adult, I recognize that's one of those situations where a child appreciates you because you are irresponsible.
Yeah.
And you actually maybe shouldn't be looking after the child. But you do tell them all the right things.
Like, Zenon could not live with her because she has no, there would be no structure.
She wouldn't, exactly. That's letting the fire
That would
burn.
be like a pinball fire, okay? It'd just be going every which way. She needs structure at that age.
She needs some basic level of direction.
Aunt Judy is necessary in this particular moment.
Yeah, but it seems like, because her and Commander Plank got their little thing going on.
They do.
At the end of this, which is real cute.
It is really cute.
Because it obviously calms him down a bit, too.
Yeah.
Commander Plank out there running the space station with no loving. That's stressful.
That must be very stressful.
That's stressful.
You're just seeing all these menacing children.
Exactly. And Zenon is on his space station.
Yeah.
Like, I would be upset, too. I would also go to her parents and be like, you need to send her away.
Actively
Again, I really don't think that a 13-year-old should, like, if somebody is telling you that they ain't going to invest in something because of something a 13-year-old did, that person is shady. They're inky, as she says. Like,
they're
that's
actively. She's also actively a menace, though.
But at the same time,
she is a menace to space society.
Exactly. Like, if you are trying to run the operation, you're like, I need her away for the next 4 weeks while I fix this.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the girl keeps stealing the access code pad. What am I supposed to do about that?
She does. And / all the kids are so smart.
Exactly. Like
you, what are you supposed to do if you run a space station with all these kids that have these super high IQs at 13? Like, it's just like, what are you going to do? You just got to let it ride.
Yeah, you really do. And that's stressful.
You got a bunch of genius babies.
It's stressful.
It is.
But, yeah. And I mean, I guess on that, I guess my only other 2 notes for this that I kind of picked up. The first is sustainability.
Yeah.
Sustainability. Like, it's so important. And Zenon knows that because she lives on the space station where they do only grow what they can eat. Mm-hmm. And, she is, like, I love that she makes all her stuff. She's learned to be very crafty and very handy, and ironically enough, like...
And it's encouraged.
Yeah, it's like you wouldn't think that space becomes the ultimate survival skill situation, but, like, it shows that that's what ends up having to happen. Just because... Yeah, you're out there, and it's like, if you do anything slightly off, like you said, you fall. Like, the Earth's
gravity
just sucks you right back in. Right to the center of the Earth. Boom. Or like you could let all the air out. Like, you could actually do that in space.
You could.
You could walk around, let all the air out, and then,
we're all dead.
I guess we're just dead now. And just float.
Or just float off course, because that's very much a thing.
And be floating into the void.
Yeah, and just, like, you'll never find your way back. There's actually a Swedish movie about that.
Yeah. Yeah, the one with Robert Pattinson. Yeah.
Oh, no, that wasn't it.
Oh.
It's Swedish.
Oh, there's another one with Robert Pattinson. That one's a little dark and...
Yeah, no, the one I was talking about was it's a dark dystopian movie called Aniara. It's actually very good. I highly recommend it, but it is about a space station, like, flying off course, or space shuttle flying off course.
This one, I think everyone's murdered, and then he's raising a baby.
Oh.
But he has to do all the things. They were all convicts that were chosen to go on this space situation to try to find another planet, I think. But they're never going to find the other planet. I don't remember the details. There's a lot going on in the film. It's one of those films that's, like, good, but not for me.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. Anywho.
Yeah.
But my other sort of big thing with this, and it was, like, the one thing that really tweaked me in watching it. I was like, listen, for the most part, these adults are, like, fundamentally, at their core, with the exception of potentially Aunt Judy, as a caretaker, good adults. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But the big issue that I did have, though, was, in my experience, and I think it's a fairly general thing to say, I just think, I think if a child is as upset as Zenon becomes, and it's about the state of their home, like, probably take them seriously. Because that's not something that they have any reason to ever lie about. Like, a child doesn't have a reason to claim that their home is an unsafe space, unless it is an unsafe space. You know what I mean? That's just my take on it. And in my experience, it's never been the case where a child claiming that their home is an unsafe space, like, isn't true. You know? Because it's not something... It's something that they do, like, they do sort of know better. Like, they understand those consequences to a certain degree.
Yeah.
So I do think...
Or not a child of her. At 13.
Yeah, at 13, yeah. Like, she really, like...
If she were 5, I may be like, well,
all right, yeah, it's a little... Yeah, they only let you have the cookie.
It's like,
yeah,
down,
what's her name?
like,
Sophie with the cookie.
Yeah.
I want the cookie. Like, it's that sort of situation. But... That and even in that, like, kids might get like a little bit upset about it, but that Sophie doesn't go around talking about, like, my mom never lets me have cookies, and or even if she was going to, she'd be like, I'm upset because they never. She would say that as it happens, you know what I mean? But when kids sort of make claims about people doing things to their what are supposed to be their safe spaces,
their home base, yeah,
or like things happening in their home base that are like genuinely make to the point where they're that upset, to the point where they can't stop crying, to like those points, that stress that child is clearly going through, it would be very strange if they put that on themselves for a completely fantasized thing. Even if they're misunderstanding a situation, clearly they genuinely believe whatever they think. That's my take on it. And because of that, you should probably listen to them. If best case scenario, to be able to debunk what they're saying and help them see that that's not the case. worst case scenario so that you can stop it. But like that turns it like it's a worst case scenario, but then at least like you can stop it. You can do something about it. You just have to believe that kid. That's just a little. That's my PSA for the day. Yeah, I would say.
No, that's not wrong. And I think with that, would you show this to your kids?
Oh ho ho, ho ho! Are you kidding? Oh my goodness, it's gonna be. I am excited to watch this with my kids.
Yeah.
Very excited to watch this with my kids. It's gonna be a night of showing it to them. You know what I mean? Like the way that showing them Cheetah Girls is gonna be like a night. We're gonna sit down. We're gonna watch Cheetah Girls.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna sit down. We're gonna watch Zenon. And they're gonna enjoy it. Like if I come home and realize that they have stumbled upon Zenon without me, I'm gonna be really upset inside. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna be mad at them, but I'm gonna be mad at like the universe. Like, why did you do that? And now it's definitely gonna happen because I've spoken it. But I'll be like, why would you do that to me? You know, I want to be here for Babies for Zenon. Like, I wanted that. But yeah, most definitely, it still holds up. It's still great. I think there are things to love about it even more now watching it as an adult. And like I said, I think that Zenon's actually like a really great character in this, and I think that there aren't characters that I think everyone's like a great character in this, and it's a film that I have very few qualms with. I mean, not like technically as like great art, but for kids, it's a film that I have very few qualms with. As a children's film, it's a film that I have very few qualms with, and so yeah, I would love to, I would love to watch it with my kids. If my godson were into anything live action, I would force him to sit down and watch this with me. But I gotta wait a few years for that.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I would definitely want to show this one to my kids. It's just so fun, and get them into the sciences, the super smart children, and like that not being weird, and that not being seen as something that they should feel bad about. And yeah, I just think it's like a good one all around. Kids enjoy it. The language is just fun.
Oh, it's so fantastic.
I mean, who knows? Maybe by 2049 we might actually have children and they might actually be saying some of this stuff.
I am so here to bring Lunarius into the lexicon. Like, come on. Lunarius? Yeah, that shit was Lunarius. That wasn't the way to say it.
They're because it's like you have to have a certain understanding of science to say some of the things that they say. Like when the boy says like they're so antimatter, and it's like that's probably not like I don't think they're saying that on Earth. They're literally just saying that in the space station because they understand what that means
and like the layers that then creates.
Right, and it's just so fun. It's just like such a fun one. I would definitely want to like watch this with them, and definitely recommend a rewatch.
For sure.
If you have not seen it in a while.
Yeah, man. It's so worth it. It's really, really worth it. Yeah. And I think with that, we will catch you on the next episode.
Yes.
Have a lunarious time till we meet again.
For real.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of The Critics Kingdom. Don't forget to follow us on Spotify and SoundCloud so you can stay up to date, as well as interacting and letting us know what you guys think on social media. You can find us on Twitter at Critics Kingdom and on Instagram at The Critics Kingdom. We're excited to talk to you again next week.